So it's been a long day. We've learned a lot of stuff. I thought I would probably have the most jam-packed deck that you're going to see. It's pretty packed. I've got slightly more slides than I have minutes, so we'll rock through it. First, just for fun, I'm going to do something totally random, and I need you guys to do it with me. And this is totally just because it's fun. It has nothing to do with anything. Everybody do this. Thumbs up, pinky fingers down, palms facing each other. Turn your hands down, so your thumbs are down, your palms are facing out. Take your right hand, lift it above your left hand, cross it over, link your fingers, and gently squeeze. Everybody, did I get the whole room? Oh, there's one guy in the back that didn't do it. Close, all right. We all did the same thing to get here. Let's see if we all end up the same way. On the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. If you Google my name, you'll see I'm a magician too, so I had to do something or everyone's going to ask me to do a card trick at the end of the night. So there you go, you're all satisfied. So this title's interesting because when I was talking to Joel, I said, what should we do? And he said, well, a lot of the things that were pitched to us we realized was optimization advice that I could Google, and I would tell you right now what the first 20 slides are going to be. I said, all right, what if I do 45 minutes of as little fluff as I can possibly jam pack into a PowerPoint? So we came up with, all right, well, that's the optimization we'll actually use, and that's what we called it. So it's not trying to be arrogant, I promise. So I've done a lot of stuff. I come from agency originally. Now I'm client side with 4 different brands. So I'm doing all the analytics, testing, product cross-sell for Hudson's Bay, Lord & Taylor, Saxonoff, Fifth right now. And I do a little bit of consulting and different stuff on the side. We don't need to read this. Let's keep moving. So these are the kind of 5 areas I'm going to touch on. Best practices, a few comments about best practices to get us going. We'll talk high-level strategy, a little bit of organization of optimization and testing in particular. I'll start talking a little bit about common conversion pitfalls. I say this carefully. It doesn't mean don't try them. It just means don't launch them on your website tomorrow for 100% of your traffic necessarily. I'm going to get into a whole bunch of conversion wins and test ideas, different things I've done, different things I've tried, different things I think work, worth exploring, and then I'll get into what I call the ultimate CRO strategy. So the ultimate CRO strategy, there's a lot of stuff on here. By the way, marketingleader.ca/inbound is where you can go to download this thing. They may pass it out as well, but if you want it from me, I've also got another one on there called 10 Ways to Make Analytics Actionable, so go get it if you want it. You don't have to enter your real email address if you want. Give me something fake, I don't care. But the last line here really says it. My hope is that the ultimate strategy will give you on one slide the best way to understand your customers, know which tests to run, know what to test, feel confident before you run the test you're going to get a good result. It is the best way that I have ever found so far, and I'm a young guy, got a lot of ways to go, to optimize. So we'll get to that. Best practices. So everybody's got a top navigation with, who's got a top nav with a drop-down menu in it? Most of you? Who's just got a top nav that just runs along the top of their website? Who's got a left nav? Who's got a right navigation on their website? Ooh. We got one. G-Shift is doing something different. Best practice states that you should go right. I've come to a split in the road. Everybody else goes right. I should go that way. Amazon gives free shipping, so that means people are programmed to expect free shipping from me. I should give free shipping. In a steering committee or in a meeting or a kickoff, when somebody uses the phrase, well, best practice says that we should, what I find that it usually means is, well, what I want is. I challenge you to find somebody state a best practice if it's not what they truly want. So I'm going to turn the best practice thing on its head and redesign the sign. Go where your customers are. Figure out what your customers are doing, what they want, what they expect. Test, change things, try things, look for changes and improvements. Don't just offer free shipping because Amazon is, and that's a best practice now. And I'll show you later that it's not. So before we go too crazy, I come right now from a very e-com-centric world. You hear a lot of e-commerce things. How many of us sell something online right now? E-com, hands up high. How many we got? About a third of us? Okay. So we've got two different metrics. We're talking CRO, conversion rate optimization. From a conversion rate standpoint, it's very much A to Z. Orders divided by visits. Email signups or downloads or whatever my goal is divided by visits. Okay, as we heard earlier, there's a lot of goals in between, but it's an A to Z. RPV from an e-com perspective is, I think of it as a hybrid between average order value and conversion rate. So when you're actually taking money on the internet, it's a nice way to measure, am I increasing my conversion rate without losing money? I can increase the conversion rate for the bay.com like crazy tomorrow, but I'm probably going to drop our revenue way down to nothing. I can do all kinds of crazy stuff to increase conversion rate. I have to keep sales up. So that's where we use RPV. If you use things like Adobe Tests and Target, you'll see that's usually the success metric that they use for tests. There we go. Real simple. If you've got an analytics team, if you're looking at data, we've heard a little bit about this before, it's a cycle. Data. I have a guy, his name is Nathan. He is my data integrity guy. 100% of his job is to make sure that my data is good. That's it. I have people who do reporting. Every Monday, CEO gets his report, he gets his dashboard. I have dedicated analysts whose job it is to dig into the data and understand what Nathan gave them. And finally, I have optimization. It's a cycle that goes around and around. I get my data, build my reports, I analyze, optimize, it goes around. It has to be a cycle. It can't just be different stuff all over the place. Those four guys have to meet and talk and trade ideas and communicate. So somebody asked me a little bit earlier about testing and what should I do first. This is how I look at it. I break it into two pieces. I have user experience, I have persuasion. User experience is roadblocks along the way. What's getting me here? What do I have to get past? What do I have to go through? Persuasion is it save $50 or is it 50% off? That's persuasive marketing copy. I'm playing with the message. I'm playing with what influences you. I usually recommend, especially if you're just starting out, do the user experience stuff first. Fix your checkout. Make sure that it's not confusing where to enter your credit card number or your email address. Never ask for the same information twice. Get them through that process first. You'll get some really good wins in there. Then start learning and playing with your marketing copy. So this is in your handout as well. This is what I do. It's super agile. It's super simple. We're actually revising our process a little bit. Number one, evaluate the actual impact of the page. A lot of people will decide to run a test on a page or a step without actually looking at, does it generate any revenue now? Do I have enough traffic and conversions? I spoke to someone in the Genius Bar earlier, and her concern was she didn't have enough traffic or conversions to even run a test, which is a huge challenge. So look at that. I mean, if I'm not going to get my 200 conversions in 2 weeks, I'm going to have to run this thing for a long time to make sure I get my significance and my data normalizes over time. Sort all of your tests based on reasonable potential impact and the effort to create it. Take your quick wins. Your quick wins are your low effort, high impact. Take your stuff that needs development, let that get worked on in the background, and just start going nuts on your quick wins for a while. We spent 8 months. I think we ran 20 or 30 tests. They were all quick wins. In the background, we built some of the bigger stuff that we ran. Really, really quickly, and then we're going to get into some of the fun stuff. We've seen this in a couple different forms today already. This is our marketing funnel, landing page, product page, cart review, information, billing, confirmation. Moving through different levels of intent. So the typical assumption is the further they go, the more they must want this, the higher intent it is. And in a lot of ways, that's very, very true. I want to offer another way to also look at this, based on levels of commitment. Because when we're testing and trying to look at abandonment and abandonment rates, looking at it from this perspective totally changes it. We often will optimize way high up in the funnel and we'll throw every test we can at a landing page. There's barely any level of commitment at this point, and there's barely level of intent. So it's not passing either check. So think of it in terms of, from an e-commerce perspective, it's pretty easy. The billing page is where I want your credit card. It's the place that I'm asking for the most precious thing that I'm going to ask for it's definitely a good place to start testing and playing around. This is my number one pet peeve. The UI UX guys that were talking earlier will hopefully agree. Multiple navigation methods. Every single time a customer touches something, they have to learn how it works. If I had to encounter a different one of these for each slide that I have to present, I'd have to keep constantly relearning and trying to figure it out. Even though I've used one of these before, this one's slightly different, so I had to kind of understand which button was which. Just because a customer's seen a slider on somebody else's website or carousel or whatever we're going to call it, doesn't mean that your customers know how to use it, doesn't mean that it works for your customers. So take a look, step back and look at your pages and think, how many different ways to reveal or explore content am I giving them? Is it almost any page of a lot of websites, you will have accordions and sliders and links and buttons and drop-downs and all these different things. Interactive content, if you have a whole bunch of it and a whole bunch of different styles, doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. It may mean that it's more confusing. So a really good test to play with is just to streamline your navigation methods on a page and see what happens. So this is what I've seen a lot of when running tests on sliders. I've run a whole bunch of these things. They almost always lose to static images. One of the reasons is because you never know at what time, how many seconds it's going to be before their attention moves to the slider. And so when the slide changes, oh, I was halfway through reading that. And so we set 5 seconds on the thing because we assume that that's the first thing they look at and they need 5 seconds to read it. But really, I looked over at the logo and scanned across the menu and went, ooh, that caught my, and it changed. Over 90% of the time, they click on the first slide only. Again, this is just from my test. You're going to want to try your own. But a lot of the time, the reason why it either doesn't make a difference or outperforms it is because they're only clicking on number one anyhow, so let's just show them number one. In the result down below, I've got a 98% confidence rate with a 16% lift in just getting rid of the slider and just putting those two images side by side. I can see both options. I can compare them, which is a beautiful thing for the brain to do, and I can make a decision. We heard a lot about this, and it seems to actually be coming up on Twitter all throughout the day about being creepy with remarketing. Personalization is the same kind of idea. I hear a lot of people say, oh man, let's just personalize everything because Amazon does. First of all, Amazon doesn't. They personalize key elements and they play with what those are all the time. But could you imagine the little example I've got on the side here? Going to a website says, welcome to our website. Did you know that you left the garage door open this morning? Some people are getting close. I visited a website not long ago where the personalization was so heavy that after I'd viewed 6 or 7 pages, I was only seeing the same content over and over and over again because that's all it thought I was interested in. Give them the opportunity to discover something that they didn't expect to see today as well as things that you know about them. Sorry, design guys. I apologize for this one. Color definitions are not necessarily a best practice for web design. Somebody said to me recently, you can't make the button red because red means stop. And so I said, send me the link to where you got that from. And I went, okay, well, red also means love and sail and passion. Aren't those good? Shouldn't I make it red? Test them. Don't just assume that red's going to be the magic thing. If it's Valentine's Day and you go with something bright blue, you're doing something different. Try it. Red doesn't, the colors don't necessarily drive it. Focusing too much on landing pages, I already mentioned this, they're always going to have the highest abandonment rates and bounce rates. It's the entry to the funnel. It's where you get the most traffic. So of course you're going to have the biggest rate of people dropping off. It's their first piece of contact with you. Think lower down the funnel. If you're not getting yourself deeper in the funnel, try it, get down there, because you'll start to find some really nice wins down there. Expecting huge results from tiny, tiny changes. How many of us have seen that same green button versus orange button test example every time we do A/B test ideas all over the internet? The other one is the Gmail one, get started versus sign up now. We keep seeing it everywhere, and we assume that these small changes always mean big wins. They can, but they don't always. Small changes can make huge difference if the change is meaningful. So what I usually do, especially early on in testing for somebody, is I stand back and literally stand out of my chair, go 12 feet away, and look at the screen. And if I can't see the difference between A and B, it's less likely that I'm going to generate a very big emotional response from the change if I can't even see it. So something to think about. Security logos are not always better. Everybody always says hacker-safe logos and PayPal secure logos and all that different stuff. A lot of the time they work, and they work really well in e-com. But they don't always. So we did this actually at a company that I worked for, I don't know, 8, 9 years ago. We put a hacker-safe that was in the header of the website, was on every single page. RPV went down. Call center volumes went through the roof because people saw the word hacker. And when you click on it, it takes you to another website that's talking about 128-bit encrypted and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't our domain anymore. And their site didn't have a secure logo. And they freaked out. And people were calling to say that we were hacked. So we took it down, and sales went back to normal. Offering free shipping automatically. This is just kind of a fun little nugget. So let's say I have free shipping on orders of $99, okay? Which is what the Bay does today. If you automatically just release that the moment you hit $99, you're going to pay for every single customer for their shipping who gets over $99, which is, from a customer perspective, is a great thing. So we tried this at one of our other brands, and we said, well, what if we just offer it with a promo code? And we message it very clearly, but we ask them to take the extra step and enter it with a promo code. What we found was, A, we made a heck of a lot more money from everybody who forgot to enter the promo code, but our repeat shoppers didn't go down. So one of the assumptions in the company was, well, if we make people take the extra step, we're going to lose customers. We didn't. Our repeat business didn't change. What ends up happening is the next time they come back, they remember, and they always remember. They have to go and look up there and see what the promo code is and enter it. So just think about that. There's a lot of stuff that we release automatically that we give out that, I mean, this was worth millions of dollars, millions of dollars. Testing just to see if this works. So when I have testing meetings, a lot of the time, the ideas that come up are, we're spending a lot of time on this banner, we're spending a lot of time on this content and this content and this content. Can we run an A/B test to show high to find out if it works? Instead of finding out what my customers think and what they're doing and what's working and what's not, where they're abandoning, I'm just going to go grab some random thing that I'm sick of spending 2 hours every Monday doing, and I'm going to A/B test it just to find out if it works. Right? It's a bit of a priorities and a mix, and it happens a lot. So how am I doing for time? What time is it? Someone shoot me the time. All right, I'm doing okay. Actually, I'm doing pretty well. So conversion wins and test ideas. So here's some things I've tried, some things you can try, some things you can take away. Clarity. Don't make them think ever. It goes back to the navigation method thing. Don't just assume, well, people aren't stupid. They'll figure it out. Assume people are stupid. They won't figure this out. There's actually a web book out there. I believe it's actually called Your Customers Are Stupid. And it's very, very true. Ad copy, headlines, call to action, clear, simple, and most importantly, drive an emotional response. I want that. ALS drove an emotional response, right? It got right into your heart, the heartstrings, the speeches people gave before they dumped the buckets. Not everybody was as goofy as I was. I did a shot-for-shot remake of the training sequence in the Rocky movie, training with ice cubes, doing push-ups over a plate of ice cubes. But most people took it really, really seriously. Complex call to actions almost always lose to really simple ones. So there we go. I'm going to break my own rule. Here's a simple, small change button test. Take the readiness assessment starter and get started. Okay? The one on the left tells you exactly what to expect on the other end of the button, which is usually a rule that I set. If someone's going to click on them, try to teach them what to expect when they click on it, right? So that I know what my destination is, I'm more likely to want that and click on it. Oh, we tried Get Started. Sure, what's going to happen? Well, Get Started got a conversion rate of 16.3. For every 7 leads with the old button, the new button generated 23. That's a great little win. I didn't think I was going to get a huge win out of a change like that. I was actually the most wrong on that test out of anybody else when we ran it. But the reason why we think it works is because it's just a lot more simple and clear. And with the readiness assessment starter, I had to think. With Get Started, it's kind of like, it's a way of saying, have you had enough? You read enough content? Great, click on this. Show and hide major elements. I tried to find a picture of my 2-year-old daughter for this one, doing the same thing, but I couldn't find one. So play around with whether or not something is pushing products or pushing your content down the fold. Sliders and giant homepage banners, especially the really big ones that are full page, unless they've got a really good message and a call to action, play around with whether or not you need them and whether or not they're actually hurting you. There's a lot of people who see the full page ones and don't know to scroll. As much as we know that, in our heart of hearts as marketers, we think people are used to scrolling now and that's a new thing and we don't have to make it 800 by 600 anymore. We can make it nice and long. Turns out with a lot of testing, on some websites with some customers, that's not true. They want to see a little bit of the content to come so they know to scroll. So this is one where we took a banner above a category. We threw 50,000 or so visitors through it, 6,000 conversions, and we said, what's going to happen when I take this banner away? And they were so committed to this thing. Turns out it's flat. It's a 0.73% lift. Plus or minus 1 or 2% I call flat. Perfect your checkout. This one goes without saying, right? We all knew this. Make sure your checkout is the most beautiful, streamlined checkout in the world. I like checkouts with nice big fields so that it doesn't look really busy, but it looks really simple and clean. Domino's Pizza has a really good checkout. Fiverr.com is a good one. Does everybody know about Fiverr.com? Does anybody not know about Fiverr.com? Fiver, people who will do things for $5. You can get SEO audits, you can get content written, and they're good. They're shockingly good at times. It's, I don't want to use, I'll use the phrase bitch work. It's the stuff that, you need a report monkey to go make an analytics dashboard for you. So here's $5, go make it. They've got a really nice checkout and they're doing one-click checkout now as well. So here's a bunch of things. Remove distractions, remove pages, keep showing me. This is a giant one. Has anyone heard the phrase maintaining scent? It smells the same no matter where you are, right? If I'm sitting in my office and I smell coffee in the kitchen and I get halfway there and she's, my wife has actually just made herself 1 cup and left and I can't smell it anymore. Well, I don't have time for this. I'll go back to desk and work. But if I can continue to smell it, I'll keep going because that's what's getting me to the end goal. Huge one, most retailers don't do, is when I hit my checkout and it says, this flat screen TV is $1,500, cross out $1,000. Once I start entering my information on the checkout page with my billing and everything, I can't see the deal anymore. It's either not showing me the price I'm paying or, most importantly, it's not showing me the deal I'm getting. Keep showing me the deal. One of the easiest way to do this is when they just have a little summary of your cart with your price that always sits there on the right-hand side. Keep reinforcing it as I go along. Auto sort by popularity. This goes back to giving people what they want, not what you want them to have. Take your menus, simple exercise. Run an A/B test on this. Take your menu, run a pages report, find out which pages people visit the most, sort your menu by that, A/B test it, and see what you get. A lot of the time, you'll find that if you sort by popularity, that you're going to get a better result. The other way that a lot of people are doing it, we're actually testing it at Saks right now, is open versus collapsed left navigations. So we're going to collapse all the ones that people don't care about as much from this page. And within women's, we're going to open dresses and shoes. And we'll leave all the other stuff closed because it's not as popular. We'll just show the most popular stuff. Test isn't done yet, but it's working like crazy. I love this. This is one of my favorite little psychological marketing tricks. You may have seen this in marketing books before. I love this. This is a support ticket website. I just made this up. They've got a 3-package plan. Everybody sees this everywhere, right? You're paying for my service, so it's got the 3 boxes with all the different features. The lean gives me 10 tickets, 5 users, really basic reporting, and forum support. Standard is pretty close in price, $22.95, but I get 20 times more tickets and 10 times more users and full everything, and it's a great package. Super mega extreme, 5,000 tickets, 500 users, everything you could possibly imagine under the sun, and it's twice the price as the one in the middle. Now, one of the assumptions that the marketers often make, and they did this whole study on this, was that people pick the middle one because it's in the middle. So they started playing around with which order they were in. Turns out it didn't matter which position it was in visually. Then people started to assume, well, they picked the middle one because it's just the middle price and it's called standard. Turns out the theory that they played on that seems to work is the lean and standard are very similar in price, but one of them is clearly better than the other. So those two are called the comparables. My brain likes to compare only two things at a time, and it likes it to be easy. Comparing those two is really easy, right? For an extra $3 a month, I get 10 times as much stuff. The decoy is the super mega extreme, which, hey, if anybody signs up for it, score, because it probably doesn't cost me much more to offer it. But what it does is it takes itself out of the picture and forces me to compare the other two that I can compare. And I'm going to pick the better deal of the two. So it's a way to, I use the term loosely, forcefully funnel people down a path. But it's a fun one to play with too. This is another big one. Actually, this is the last one of these. Automate product recommendations. If you are running an e-com site, get yourself a good product upsell tool. So I'm sitting on a product page you may also like, or as we just A/B tested, the winner was you'll also love, in our case. So we did this. We ran a test. We ran it at two major, huge retailers. Manual, which is selected by merchandisers, marketing, and buyers, versus automatic. Sitting in meetings, every single department in both companies fought me on this. The only reason why we got to run it is because the senior vice president had already paid for it, so we better darn well use it. Well, I need to be able to inject my own into that. So could you automate 2 of the 3, and then the third one can be me? Because Calvin Klein made this bikini top and this bikini bottom to match, and that's what people are going to want, so I should put them together. And my argument was, well, if that's what people want, they'll buy them together, and it will recommend them together. So we got a 4.14% RPV lift, which for a smaller site is not a huge lift. For a multi-million-dollar e-com site, that's a minimum of $5 million without including Christmas and seasonality. It was a big win. And those departments soon started to see some interesting things. They saw 2 things. One, the things they desperately wanted me to overrule were happening organically anyway. And 2, the stuff that got recommended together was the weirdest crap we've ever seen and never would have done ourselves. I was looking at it, and this was just after we ran the test, and I started to discover that cookware sets were always selling with the exact same medium tan colored sports bra. And that sports bra was selling with all different types of cookware sets. Women with that style and those dimensions really wanted cookware sets for some reason, right? With a cookware set, I would have put, the pot holders and the dishes and stuff that match the Jamie Oliver collection or whatever it is. And with the medium sports bra, I might do bottoms or something and other stuff to go with it, right? I never would have put the two together, but holy cow, do they sell together? You're never going to do that if you're fully manual. Most out-of-the-box stuff, if you're on WordPress and you've got, WP Ecom or WooCommerce or, Virtue Mart and Joomla or any of the many different ones out there, a lot of the time, it's just going to give you these based on popularity. So I'll get to that in a second. Just a couple things last about automation. The biggest thing here is that it's about letting go of control, right? Everybody fought me because they wanted control, because they were so scared that it was going to do something wrong. No matter how badly you want to show the blue shoes with the blue shirt, you're guessing. Regardless of whether or not Calvin Klein made them together, or you think people are going to pair them together, or they go well together and you just know it. You're guessing. It's an educated guess, but it's a guess. When compared to a sophisticated algorithm, you're going to lose. You're a beginner chess player up against a master. Your customers know better than you are. And that's something that you have to let go of. Your customers are smarter than you. They just are. The nice little win at the bottom here, it saved both organizations a ton of time. They had 2 full-time people doing cross-sell with 30 people contributing to it, and then they would do the work. Now those 2 people are doing way more valuable things with the company within the department. It took a ton of time away. We don't even have to think, and it's smarter than us. You can't get much better than that. So, as I mentioned, don't just think about popularity of products selling together. Different algorithms are going to work for different sites in different places. So if you're looking at a tool, get one that has different combinations. So this is using Adobe Recommendations. Monotate has a good one too, actually, as well, as is Rich Relevance. So we tested 4 different affinities. View purchase So people who looked at these shoes went on to buy these shoes. Maybe they were cheaper, more expensive, or just different. View affinity, people who viewed this also viewed this other one. Purchase affinity, people who bought these shoes bought this belt to go with it in the same purchase. And previously viewed items, which is what Amazon tends to do a lot, not always. What else have I looked at? Personalization for me during my visit today. So I can just kind of reevaluate my choice based on other stuff I've looked at. In the United States, it was purchase affinity. In Canada, it was the view purchase affinity. And we keep finding this thing about Canadians, we're browsers. Google did a study, I want to say 2 years ago, where they found that for every dollar Canadians spend online, they go and spend 34 in a store for that same company. I believe the United States was something like 1 to 10 or 12. It was a lot closer of a gap. Canadians are browsers. We like to look online, but we're still not totally into the whole buying online thing. So we go to the store and we try it on, right? I'm a tall, skinny guy, so I have to actually go try a suit on. I can't buy suits on the internet. It doesn't work. All right, so let's finish up with this guy, the ultimate CRO strategy. So after all the stuff you've heard, how can you find key weaknesses in your funnel? How can you pinpoint confusing steps? Identify which elements actually did get them to buy. I've got a whole page of stuff. Which thing was it that made them purchase? What persuaded them? How can I predict the outcome of a change? How do I know which test to run that I can feel confident will get a good result? Any guesses? It's actually been leaked a couple times today, and I was a little annoyed that everyone was saying it all afternoon. So how do you know what your customers are thinking? Ta-da! Ask them. Surveys. Talk to them. Ask them. I love this stupid image. I don't know where I found this. When we don't ask, we guess. So in this image, he took a whole bunch of scientists and blindfolded them, and they all think it's something else, right? It's a spear, it's a fan, it's a wall, it's a rope, it's a tree, it's a snake, it's a, they've got all of their senses except they've removed one sense. When we use call center data, get your call center people to ask 1 of 10 questions for every call and log the data. Each time they do a call, they just have them go through those 10 and answer the next one and collect all that data. By the way, what was it about that shoe that made you want to buy it? So, thanks for buying our service. Was there any reason when you landed on our site that just made you kind of go, yeah, that looks pretty good? Or what was it that informed you the most? Where'd you go? Just ask a bunch of these good questions. Don't lead them. Post-purchase and abandonment surveys are awesome. By the way, if you're not doing abandoned cart emails, as a side note, start because they work really well. But ask all these questions. Do usability studies. There's the 5-second test is awesome. I love it. I really like it from a perspective of show the image for 5 seconds, have it disappear, and get them to answer a question. What'd you notice? Keyword cloud that thing and start playing around. So when we take a look at the difference between the typical analytics model, which is data analysis, and you test it, and then you try again, you try some more stuff. That analysis item is an educated guess. It's a very educated guess. We still need to do that process. We can't just talk to our customers all day and drive them nuts. But when you compare it to a customer voice model, customer feedback, what I'm going to call compilation and test. Compilation is sampled reality. You're compiling the truth. With analytics, you're taking what you think out of the data, and a lot of us are really good at that. But when you're actually just talking to people, you're just compiling the truth. And just get enough of it that you've got a good sample of data. So I'll give you one big example at the end. This was a really big win. I'm proud of this one. This is the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation. I led this project with an agency. I did the design. I did the taxonomy. I told them what to do. I did the SEO. I did the whole thing. It was really cool. That was the before. This is the after. Okay. Most of this after was because I spent about a week and a half with call center people. I spoke to their call center manager, and then I said, give me the lowest, most angry, hates her job person on the totem pole, and let me spend a day with her. And I did. And she bitched and bitched about all the phone calls she gets and where people are confused and what goes wrong. And this is a loud, obnoxious website. It's by no means perfect, but it's on brand and it works. How works? Well, we got a 25.54% increase in organic traffic within a month because we built more content that their customers actually wanted. Turned out they wanted a whole bunch of medical advice, so we actually convinced them to hire a couple nurses who could write a whole shitload of content for them. The organic rankings went through the roof. Huge increase in referring site traffic. We assume that's because of all this new good content. Nice big bounce rate increase, and the golden nugget, of course, is a 733% increase in donations in 30 days when we launched the website. The reason why this worked, and not every single overhaul of a website is going to be this good because it was very bad first, but I think the reason why this worked is because we just listened to what people wanted and what they actually wanted to do. So that is it for me. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Optimize. I've been tweeting with people today. I think the social media panel, for those who are following that conversation, won the curse count. You were doing okay. And then the social media guys kind of took you out. Marketingleader.ca is me. /inbound has a couple resources on there for you. And thank you very much.